Here are the homework answers for section 4-1, starting on page 126 with the orals. Directions are to find the product or quotient. In number 1, we have a product, two things being multiplied together. A to the second times a to the fifth. To do this problem, we're going to match this up to one of the formations that are on page 123. There's a chart on page 123, and it has 6 things in the chart. Question number 1 matches the first one in that chart. The technique is to write the base and add the exponents. The answer is a to the 7th power. Here's the reason why it's a to the 7th power. A squared means a times a. Now we're multiplying by a to the 5th power. A to the 5th power means a times a times a times a times a. Here's your a squared. Here's your a to the 5th power. Hopefully this shows you why the result is a to the 7th power. Next, number 3. Match this formation up to one of the ones on page 123. This also fits the first one on the page, where you have the base and you add the exponents together. Number 7 is the same formation as the ones we just did. Notice in number 1 how both of them had a base of a, and we added the exponents. In number 3, they both had a base of 3, and we added the exponents. In number 7, they both have a base of t, and we add the exponents. X minus 1 is the first exponent, and we're adding x plus 1, which is the second exponent. We can combine like terms in that exponent. X plus x is 2x, and negative 1 plus positive 1 is nothing. The answer is t to the 2x. Number 11 has a different formation. This does not look like the 3 of them that we just did. The other ones had multiplying between the factors. This one has dividing between the factors. This fits the 4th one on page 123. The technique is to write the base and subtract the exponents. This is m to the 4th power. Here's why it's m to the 4th power. M to the 7th means m times m times m times m times m times m times m. I have 7 m's multiplied. Now we're dividing by m to the 3rd, which means m times m times m. Anytime a factor in the numerator matches a factor in the denominator, it cancels away. Hopefully this shows why the answer is m to the 4th power. Number 13 fits that same format. It is the 4th one on page 123. You write the base and subtract the exponents. We get r to the 0 power. By the way, any non-zero number to the 0 power is defined to equal 1. So the answer is 1. Number 19 is a different formation. This doesn't have the same base being multiplied together, nor does it have dividing. Instead, we have a product in parentheses and an exponent on the outside of the parentheses. This fits the 2nd one on page 123. The technique is to take each of the factors and raise to the power. 2 to the 3rd power times, and now r to the 3rd power. 2 to the 3rd power is 8, so the answer is 8r to the 3rd power. Here's why that's the answer. 2r raised to the 3rd power means 2r times 2r times 2r. Hopefully you see the 2r to the 3rd power in this expansion. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8, and r times r times r is 8 to the 3rd power. Number 21. This fits the 6th one on page 123. When you have a quotient and you're raising to a power, you raise the numerator to that power and you raise the denominator to that power. So we take the a and raise it to the 2nd power, and take the 3 and raise it to the 2nd power. This makes a squared over 9, because 3 squared is 9. Over here on the side, let's justify that. A over 3 to the second power means a over 3 times another a over 3. When you multiply these together, hopefully you see why that would be a squared on top and 3 squared on the bottom. Number 29, we are given the monomial 2a cubed and we're asked to square it. So we want to group it in parentheses and then square it. What formation does this match to on page 123? This is a combination of the second one and the third one. Take the first factor and raise it to the second power, then take the second factor and raise it to the second power. So we have the 2 and we're squaring it. Now we have the a cubed and we're squaring it. But the a cubed squared fits the third thing on page 123. Our 2 squared at the front, that's a 4. And then a to the third power squared is a to the 3 times 2. So our answer is 4a to the 6th power. Here's why that's the answer. 2a cubed raised to the second power means 2a cubed times another 2a cubed. 2 times 2 makes the 4, and a to the third times a to the third makes a to the 6th. Number 33, we're given the monomial 3r squared, and we're asked to cube it. So let's group it in parentheses and raise to the third power. That's what it means to cube something. Now let's follow the rules on page 123. Take the first factor and raise it to the third power. Take the next factor and raise it to the third power. So we're taking our r squared and raising it to the third power. 3 to the third power is 27. R squared to the third power is r to the 2 times 3. So the answer is 27 r to the 6th power. Page 126, the written. Let's simplify these. 3 times 8 is 24. X to the third times x to the third is x to the 3 plus 3. So the answer is 24 x to the 6th power. Number 3, we're supposed to multiply these together. Negative 5 times negative 3 is positive 15. A to the second times a to the first is a to the 2 plus 1. Now let's look at the letter b. B to the first times b to the second is b to the 1 plus 2. So the answer is 15 a to the third power, b to the third power. Number 13, we have a division problem. 64 divided by 4 is 16. Now let's look at the variables. A to the third divided by a to the 1 is a to the 3 minus 1. Now let's look at the letter b. B to the second divided by b to the second is b to the 2 minus 2. So this makes 16a to the second b to the 0. Any non-zero number raised to the 0 power is just a 1. So this part here, that's just a 1. So the final answer is 16a to the second power. Number 15, we have a division problem, just like number 13. Start with the numerical coefficients. 28 divided by negative 7. That makes negative 4. Now we can worry about the variables. M to the 1 divided by m to the 3 is m to the 1 minus 3. P to the 2 divided by p to the 1 is p to the 2 minus 1. So the answer is negative 4, m to the negative 2, p to the 1. Next, number 17. We have a combination of the skills on page 123. We have the division, but we also have a product raised to a power. According to the order of operations, exponents comes before division. That's the PEMDAS rules. So we want to raise each of the factors to that power. Negative 2 to the third power makes negative 2 to the third. X squared raised to the third power makes x squared to the third power. Y raised to the third power makes y to the third power. In the denominator, a similar thing happens. We need to take each of the factors in the parentheses and raise them to the second power. Start with the 6. We have 6 to the second power. Next is the x. We have x to the second power. Next is our y squared. We have the y squared to the second power. What this is showing is separating each of the factors in the product and raising each of them to the exponent outside the parentheses. Let's continue on. Negative 2 raised to the third power is negative 8. X to the second raised to the third power is x to the 2 times 3 power. And then we have our y to the third power. Now in the denominator, 6 squared is 36. Then we have x squared. Then we have y squared to the second power. That is y to the 2 times 2 power. Let's simplify farther. In the top we have negative 8, x to the 6th, y to the 3rd. In the denominator we have 36, x squared, y to the 4th. Next step, reduce the numerical coefficients. Negative 8 and 36 are both divisible by 4. Negative 8 divided by 4 leaves a negative 2. 36 divided by 4 leaves a 9. That creates the fraction negative 2 over 9. Now let's work with the variables. X to the 6th divided by x to the 2 is x to the 6th minus 2. Now the letter y. Y to the 3 divided by y to the 4 is y to the 3 minus 4. One more step and we'll have it. This is negative 2/9 x to the 4th, y to the negative 1. Next, number 21, we're asked to simplify this. The multiplication here and here is going to happen before subtraction because of the order of operations. Before we can do the multiplication, though, we have to do the exponent because exponent comes before multiply. So take each of these factors and raise to the third power. We're going to get the negative 3 raised to the third power and then the b raised to the third power. Over here, let's just copy down the 6b squared. Now the minus sign. Over here, let's copy down the 2b to the 4th and the 5b. Next step, negative 3 to the third power is negative 27. Next step, negative 27 times 6 is negative 162. Now the letter b. B to the third power times b to the second power is b to the 3 plus 2 power, which is a 5. Over here, 2 times 5 is 10. Now the letter b. B to the 4th times b to the 1 is b to the 4 plus 1, which is a 5. These are like terms. Both of them have the variable b to the 5th, so we can combine them. Negative 162 minus 10 is negative 172 b to the 5th. Next, number 25. We have a long problem and we want to simplify. Let's follow order of operations. Multiplying happens before the adding, so let's times these together. Negative 21 x to the second power. Now focus on this part right here and distribute that exponent to both factors. 2 to the second power makes 4. X to the second raised to the second makes x to the 2 times 2, which is a 4. Now we have our minus sign. Before we can times these, we have to do the exponent because exponents happen before multiplying. So let's distribute the 3 to both of those factors. So here's our 3x. And now let's work on this piece here. 2 to the third power is 8. And then x raised to the third power is x cubed. Now the plus sign. Over on this part, we need to take that exponent and distribute it to all the factors in the parentheses. Start with the 5. 5 raised to the second power is 25. X to the fourth raised to the second power is x to the 4 times 2, which is an 8. Now the denominator. X to the third raised to the second power is x to the 3 times 2, which is x to the 6th. X squared and x to the 4th are not like terms, so you can't add these two together. But in this area, we can multiply these two together. So I'm going to copy down the beginning part of the problem. And then when we get to this area, multiply. We have minus 3 times 8 is 24. X to the 1 times x to the 3 is x to the 1 plus 3, which is a 4. Over here on this fractional piece, we can do a little bit of work. We have the coefficient 25. Now let's work on the variables. X to the 8 divided by x to the 6 is x to the 8 minus 6, which is x to the 2. Now we can combine like terms. Put your x to the 4th powers together. 4 minus 24 is negative 20 x to the 4th power. Now put the x squareds together. Negative 21 plus 25 is a positive 4 x squared. Here's the final answer.